Yo, what is going on everybody? Shri Kanase here, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about a super important topic, and that is increasing the profitability of your Shopify store. Now, I say this is an important topic for several reasons, and I'm going to be going over those reasons very soon, but I personally think that this is one of the most sort of evaded topic that a lot of people kind of like to avoid, because if you think about it, if you're on a Facebook group or watching some random Shopify video on YouTube, the thing that you'll most often see is their sales dashboard. So what they will show you is how much sales they have done in a particular month. It could be $100,000 or $500,000 or even up to $1 million. But what a lot of people fail to realize, and this is something I struggled with a lot myself when I first started out with Shopify, and I sometimes even still struggle with this today, is realizing that those sales dashboard do not equal profits. That is not the amount that specific individual, whoever is showing that dashboard, kept inside his or her pocket. And what often happens is, if you see these big numbers and if you're not achieving those big numbers, you kind of start to feel bad about yourself and your current situation. You start doubting yourself whether you can do it or not, and this just leads to a lot of negativity and additional hardships in your journey. I mean, come on, dropshipping is already hard. Why make it even harder by looking at these screenshots when that's not even the full truth? And this is personally something I struggled with myself. When I used to struggle a lot with my main Shopify store, I would look at all of these screenshots of people doing $1,000 a day, 10,000, 100,000, and that would just kind of internally make me feel bad about myself and my whole situation. It would make me doubt whether I'm even worth it or whether I could achieve those kinds of numbers. But we're not going to be really talking about that. In this video, we're going to be specifically talking about how you can increase your own Shopify store's profit. So even if you have a lower sales amount than the average individual, you still end up with more money inside your pocket compared to them. But without wasting any more time, let's just jump right into it. So why focus on profit? Let's start by talking about this first. What's the main reason why we even should focus on profits? Why not just focus on sales, increase that, and make it go through the roof so that we can also make more money? One thing people fail to understand is just because you increase your sales does not mean your profits increase as well. In fact, you'll see the total opposite happen. Once you start to aggressively scale a winning product, your profits actually start to plunge and go really, really low. But one of the main reasons as to why I always recommend that you focus on profits more, and something I've started to actually do more often myself, is because you can't deposit sales to the bank. It's cool that you made $1 million in sales in a specific month, but you're only going to be keeping a part of that $1 million because you have other expenses like cost of the goods sold, your employees, your advertising costs, and so on. So that's why we want to take into account profits, because that is the main metric that determines how successful your business is. I've seen a lot of people where they made $100,000 in sales in a single month, even sometimes up to $1 million. But when I asked them about their profits, they kind of looked at me all weird, thinking I'm asking some kind of weird question that is not supposed to get asked. When you're in a situation like that, that really tells you something about what kind of business you're running. But basically, you want to understand that profits are what define what type of business that you run. Basically, more profits equals more room to grow and more room to fulfill your own dreams, because that means you'll have more money inside your pocket as well, because in the end, that's what we all want. In addition to all of this, you get to invest more to get your customers, because your business is really profitable and you're getting more profits even with the advertising costs that you already have going on. And one really important thing a lot of people don't understand is you are an employee of your business. That means you pay yourself something specific out of the total amount that you make from your business. And a good way to look at profits is basically to understand that profits are the wage that you pay yourself. Here in California, the minimum wage is currently $12 per hour. So if you convert that to your own business, whatever dollar amount that you're paying per hour is basically part of the profits that your business makes. So let's say, for example, in an entire year, your dropshipping store leaves you with about $20,000 in profits. And let's say you kind of got tired of running your business. It's just too much work. You can't handle all of that Facebook ads life because you want more of the social life. Then you would obviously need to hire somebody to do the CEO part of the work for you, basically take over your position. In that specific scenario, you would be basically asking yourself what you would pay that specific person, whoever takes your position, for the entire year. And whatever number you come up with is what you should be paying yourself, and is essentially what profits you should be getting from your business. So if you're spending 12 hours a day every single day and not taking a single day off in the entire year, would somebody else really want to take over your position and work that much amount for just $20,000 of profit a year? If the answer is no, then you have a problem and you have a sick cow, basically a sick business. But before we talk about the specific strategies as to how you can actually increase the profitability and turn your sick business into a profitable, healthy business, I want to talk about the different types of profit levels. And after watching this video, you're going to feel kind of a little bit uneasy about your current situation. Maybe you didn't know that your business is actually a sick business, but don't worry, that's a good thing, because that means now you'll work towards increasing that profits. But the first type of business is the business with less than 10% net profit margins. And these profit margins are after you cover all of the costs of the goods, the employee fees, the transaction fees, the refunds, the chargebacks, everything, basically every single expense, and you're left with less than 10% profits. That means your business is kind of on life support. The second stage is if your business is currently profiting 10% net to 15% net. Again, this is after covering all of the cost, employee fees, advertising, etc. And if you still have 10 to 15% left over after all of this, that means you have a great business. Keep at it. You can possibly invest more money into getting more customers so that you can then send them more email offers and all of that stuff to get even more sales. And the third and the best option is if your profit margin at the end is about 15% or more. That means you have an amazing cash cow machine. You can go buy that Lambo if you want. Maybe you can start planning to buy that big house that you wanted. Of course, I'm just kidding about this, but this definitely means that you have a really good business and you should definitely invest more in getting those customers. But the worst situation to be in is, of course, the first situation where the profits is less than 10%. Now, if you think that you're in this specific situation, don't worry, this is not the end of the world. This just means that you want to apply one of the strategies I'm about to mention to increase that at least to the second level. Because of course, in the end, you want profit so you can keep more money inside your pockets. But let's go on to strategy number one. Exactly what is the first step in order to improving the profit margins? Well, the first thing that you can do in order to improve your profits is focus on the gross margins. Now, what do I mean exactly by the gross margins? Gross margins are basically whatever the total price that you sold the product for subtracted from the cost of the good. So let's say, for example, you sell a product for $50 on your store and you get the product for $20 AliExpress. That means you're left with a profit margin of $30. Now, the gross margin is something you get when you divide 50 by 20, which is 40%. And if we subtract 40 from 100, that's 60%. So in this case, the gross margin is 60%. In my own experience, what I've noticed is to get to this second level, you need to be aiming at a gross margin of 55% or more. And in this case, if you find the product for $20 on AliExpress and you sell it for 50, that means your gross margin is 60%, which of course meets that specific criteria. So the first step to increasing your overall profitability is basically increasing your gross margin. And one easy way to do this is, of course, increase the selling cost of your product. Let's say, for example, instead of getting the product for $20 on AliExpress, you were getting it for $30. That means you would not be matching the minimum gross margin of 55%. In this case, what you would want to do is instead of selling it for $50, try selling it for $60 or maybe $70. And if it's not really selling well at that price, then you want to make a decision of whether you want to continue selling that product or not, because would you rather have sales or would you rather have profits? And again, in my experience, having a minimum gross margin of 55% or more is a good indicator that you will have at least 10% profit margins in your business. One other way that you can actually increase your gross margins is just charge shipping for the product and offer free shipping over a certain dollar amount. So let's say for that specific product, you get it on AliExpress for 20, you sell it for 50, but you want to increase your gross margins. What you would do is you would charge them $2 for shipping or $3 for shipping, whatever you want to charge them, and then give them the option of getting free shipping, basically qualifying for free shipping if they have an order value in their cart of $55 or more. So as you can see, the product cost is $50, but we say that they can get free shipping with $55 or more. So that kind of inclines them to purchase another product from your store, and that increases your gross margins in general. So that's one really easy way and straightforward way to increase your gross margins. The third one is, of course, heavily upselling or downselling different types of products. This includes pre-upselling and post-purchase upsells as well. For post-purchase upsells, I highly recommend that you use Zipify. I actually made a whole video on Zipify if you wanted to check that out on my channel. I'll have the link displayed right above my head, but that's something you definitely want to also invest in. But ideally, what you want to be doing is you want to be using all of these four things together to really increase your gross margin. And the one that I didn't really talk about is finding new suppliers who can provide the main winner for a lower cost. This is again very straightforward, which is why I didn't really mention this. You would really want to do some research on AliExpress, see if you can find somebody else selling this product for a lower cost, or you can use a dropshipping agent. But use all of these things together instead of just doing it individually. Just try all of these things and you'll definitely see that your gross margins increase. And in my experience, again, when your gross margins increase, your net profits increase as well. But strategy number 2 is lowering the costs of running your business. Now, this is actually the last strategy I would use in my own Shopify stores if I really have no other way of increasing my profits. And that's basically just getting rid of all the unnecessary apps, basically deleting all of the apps that are taking a lot of money but aren't really giving you the sales or profits that you want. The second thing is using cashback services. Now, one really good service that I like to use is called AdmitAd. It gives me basically cashback on every single order I place on AliExpress. So for every AliExpress order which I pay $500 for, AdmitAd actually gives me back about $30 in cash back. So this is kind of essentially lowering the cost of running my business because I'm just getting cash back for basically doing a necessary function in my business, which is ordering products. So that's a good way to basically lower your cost. Again, I have made an entire video on this. I'll have the link in the description as well. But the third way is to use different payment gateways which offer lower transaction fees. I know a lot of payment gateways, they offer different kinds of transaction fees. Some do up to 2%, some do 3% and more. So you kind of want to again do research on this. Find payment gateways which don't have such high transaction fees and just use them so that you can lower the cost of running your business. And the fourth and final option is, of course, cutting employees out of your business, just lowering the cost of having virtual assistants inside your business. Again, this is kind of the last step scenario because I like to first of all use strategy number 1 and make sure I can do something in this case. And if I've done everything in this case and I still want to improve my profit margins, I go on to strategy number 2. But now moving on to our final strategy, and that is strategy number 3, which involves lowering advertising costs. Again, this is one of the last options I do if I just can't get my store to be profitable. I'll simply stop running as many ads as I usually do. And that's because in the end, again, we don't care about sales. It's good to look at the sales dashboard and think you're highly or something, but trust me, that's not going to cut it long term, because if you're not putting money inside your pockets, it really starts to weigh down on you and you start to doubt whether it is even worth it continuing running the store or not. So the easiest way to kind of just increase your profit margin is lower your advertising costs. Maybe start focusing more on the back end. Whatever customers that you already have, try to find out ways where you can get them to buy more and more from you, because in the end, what you want to understand is it's much easier to sell something to someone who has already purchased from you than it is to sell something to someone who doesn't even know about your store, which is cold traffic. In addition to focusing on the back end, you can try focusing on organic traffic, maybe the SEO of your website. Hire somebody to do the SEO for your website, or you can watch some of my videos to have that done for you. Third thing is, of course, using influencers. You can use Instagram influencers, Facebook influencers, or YouTube influencers. Just try to get your product into their hands and let them make a video about your product, because usually these influencers have a large popularity and following. So they like the product, their fans are most likely to buy that product just because whoever they follow liked it so much. And the fourth thing is using different cheaper platforms. Again, one thing people fail to realize is Facebook is not your only way to run a business. I know probably a lot of people watching this video just let out a big gasp, but trust me, Facebook is not the only way to run your business. There are other platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, Google Ads, Instagram ads, and so much more that you can utilize instead of just focusing on Facebook ads. And oftentimes I highly recommend this, because if you're just losing money or breaking even every single month, there's no real point of just running the business like that. Why not just try something else, maybe a different platform which can get you a higher return on ad spend. Just don't be afraid to test different things and see what works for you and see what doesn't. But these are the specific 3 strategies. Again, strategy number 1, focus on the gross margins, and that's followed by strategy number 2, which is lowering the cost of running your business. And that's finally followed by focusing more on the advertising aspect, which is lowering the advertising cost. But if you found any type of value in this video, make sure to smash that like button down below and subscribe to stay up to date to videos just like these ones. And I'll see you guys next time.